Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today, I'm discussing 3 films from the Criterion Collection that are great watches for summer. One of the most obvious choices is an early Bergman film. Ingmar Bergman's Smiles of a Summer Night. I believe Roger Ebert said everybody should watch this once. I would watch this 2 or 3 times. This is my DVD. I have it in the Bergman pack. The big Bergman pack, but I've had this DVD forever. Oh gosh, be careful with the Bergman pack. All the things will fall out. Bust your toe there. Anyway, a group of mismatched lovers as the collective muse. Director Bergman reaches back to the turn of the century Sweden's bourgeoisie society to deliver a full-fledged comedy. And basically, when he wrote this, he was in a bad space mentally. I think if you read in the essays there, it was either that or do something he regretted, perhaps. You have a young wife and a father of a young son, and the son has some chemistry with his father's wife, and that's awkward. There's another pairing that the husband's cheating on the wife with this actress, and you meet this actress who had dalliances in the past with the guy who's married to the young daughter. And then there's this young maid who flirts around with just about anybody. And what happens is you have these 4 interconnected stories, and basically a Shakespeare-style comedy where can all these people end up with the right partner in the end. There are 4 pairs. And it's a strikingly modern film for something that I believe came out, what was it, the 50s, I'm wanting to say? 55, Smiles of a Summer Night. I had really thought, when I was getting ready to sit down and watch this, I thought this might be one of the Bergmans that aged a little bit more poorly, and I had mistakenly put this off, but I really like the film. I think it works as a piece of social commentary. It lives up to its name, Smiles of a Summer Night, because some of the characters talk about different phases of a summer evening, and I think beyond just this saying summer in the title, there's a life and a spirit and a vitality to it, as is going to be the case in my other films I'm going to recommend here. And it's just a truly enjoyable cinematic experience. It's a little different than some Bergman. It gets pretty dark and pretty bleak, like Cries and Whispers. There are some of the Bergman themes, though, in there, even despite the comedy. There's a self-harm theme in there, as there often is or mental health issues as there are in Bergman films. But it's really cool. The payoffs are all there. Watch Smiles of a Summer Night if you haven't. I really enjoyed it, and I would watch it again. So that's my first recommendation, my first obvious recommendation. But I wanted to talk about something that I feel like doesn't get discussed much, that really fits this summer theme in terms of beautiful colors and landscapes, and it feels like you're taking a tour from the past in some historic time travel, like your Outlander there with Jamie Fraser. And that movie is from Pier Pasolini's Trilogy of Life, which if I ever talk about this, I like to show the back because the front has some images on it. There are 3 films in that. The Decameron, which is what I'm recommending, the Canterbury Tales and Arabian Nights. But the Decameron here is it's basically a series of what the back calls moral tales. Okay, from it's like a novel story collection, and just to give you an idea what a few of these are, among the chief delights are a young man's exploits with a gang of grave robbers. That is awesome. That is a really cool sequence. A flock of randy nuns who sin with a strapping gardener. Hint, heads up, this, like many Pasolini works, this is extremely critical of religion. And there's a lot of nudity, a lot of different ideas being thrown around, scatological humor. And one of the reasons beyond that, one of the reasons beyond that I'm recommending this film is Pasolini, didn't necessarily stray away from disgusting stuff in his films. There is a good chance that in summer, if you're like me, you've been to festivals or you've been hiking somewhere, camping somewhere outdoors, and there's like a porta potty and it's gross. There's an outhouse sequence in this film that's hilarious and super gross, and it feels summery to me. That's disgusting, but I don't know. It's bright, beautiful Technicolor. It's fun. There's lots of frolicking. If you read, or if you look at the video essay that comes with the Decameron, the director kind of discussed, like, I wanted some positivity in my movies because that wasn't always there. This is the same director of Salò or 120 Days of Sodom. So it's a little bit more optimistic on the whole than some of his stuff. It's still extremely scathing commentary of religion. So be aware of that. But it is a beautiful, enchanting film, and it's worth seeing if nothing else for that sort of visual prowess of the thing. Watch that sometime when the weather's good. That's what I would say. Summertime. Those are two films that came to mind pretty immediately. But there's one I just saw. Picked it up in my Barnes and Noble haul. Yeah, it's a July sale, which I have a video if you haven't checked that out. But I just watched this. This felt summery to me. This felt youthful and crazy and psychotic and well acted and well directed. And to me, this movie is quite underrated. This is called To Die For. Gus Van Sant's To Die For. And I was truly blown away how good this movie was. And I just picked it up, just watched it. The basis is, how do you talk about To Die For without spoiling everything? Okay. So basically in the beginning of this film, you get a series of like interviews. Someone's recording people talking about something that has happened, a death in the family. And concerning that death in the family, you get a perspective from the wife, played wonderfully by Nicole Kidman, who is an aspiring TV star. She wants to do journalism, and she ends up doing some weather reporting. And then you have a sister of the family who is into ice skating and things, and that ends up being really interesting. You have two parents, one of whom might be connected with the mob, and then the other side of the family, you have the parents of Nicole Kidman. Won't talk too much about that, let you see that. And then you get the perspective of this death in the family that has happened. You get the perspective of these high schoolers that Nicole Kidman's character worked with. And one of them is Joaquin Phoenix, who's terrific in the film. You get Casey Affleck in the film as well later on. Really good cast. And this is a really deliciously dark comedy. It's hilarious when it clicks. But the reason I'm mentioning it as kind of a summer film is that there's like these beautiful scenes. Like there's one by the pool. There's lots of outdoors. It feels summer to me, despite the fact that there are winter scenes in it, especially an icy scene toward the end that was really good. This film has so many good payoffs. There are two real big payoffs that come with this because there's that family tragedy drama that I mentioned. That whole payoff and how that develops is really strong. But also there's some like sort of forward-thinking ideas, right? Like the idea that the media could become so powerful and so influential that it could basically like influence government unduly, which in our world, like if media practically runs large portions of world government, my opinion. So I think it's very timely. And so, if you didn't know, this is the same director who did Good Will Hunting. I like this maybe a shade better than Good Will Hunting. I think it's just so, the dialogue's so perfect. Like the actors, the way that they'll turn their head, or like a smile or a close-up of Nicole Kidman, like all these different small decisions really add up to a series of terrific performances. And I really liked it, and I really was like surprised how good it was. And it has a lot to say about TV and about fame and about what we will do to achieve it, especially in a TikTok generation. And all three of these films kind of do, have like the arrogance of youth theme going on that you might associate with summer. Like if Friday the 13th, the kids are dumb and bad things happen, well, that's true in each of these three films that I just mentioned, which is kind of part of what I was going with here, the idea that youth can go too far, that it can be dangerous. And I think you'll find that in all three films, especially To Die For, which I think is the best of these three. But I really like these three films, and I kind of found them to be thematically similar, so I wanted to share them with you. Smiles of a Summer Night, the Decameron, Pasolini's film, and To Die For, which is a really good one, and it's easy to find. A lot of Barnes & Noble if you want to pick that up if you're watching this here in July in the July sale, or in another cell. So if anyway, tell me, what do you think would fit the summer list in the comments? Because I have other films in mind that I know would fit the summer list. I'm looking directly at one at my collection right now. But yeah, let me know in the comments, and click like. You know, the thumbs up button helps grow the channel if you would. And subscribe if you haven't. Lots of Criterion content comes out here all the time. We'll see you next time on Cody and the Cinema.